Hello everybody, before we start this playthrough I would like to make a small disclaimer just in case. We decided to record this game like about a year before we actually started, and since then there's been some real life events that unfortunately do have some parallels to the story of this game. Keep in mind this game was written in 1998, so obviously they couldn't predict what was going to happen. So keep in mind that any similarities between, and trust me, there will be quite a few, any similarities between the story of this game and current world events are purely coincidental and not at all an intentional part of the developers, unless of course they're fortune tellers. That's the only way it would be intentional.
Although, given who one of the developers of this game is,
sure, you have to wonder really, because that's the sad part. It's Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and now as recently Metal Gear Rising is also getting its holy shit, this game predicted shit. Like the more years pass, the more this prophetic this franchise becomes.
I cannot wait.
The memes, Pedro. The
memes.
I cannot wait for Survivor to actually become true and us being invaded by interdimensional demons.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tara. There were no Metal Gear games after Phantom Pain.
I'd like to hope that we can continue to live in a world where Metal Gear Survive has no credibility whatsoever.
Anyway, that's the basic gist, everybody. Any similarities are purely coincidental and not intentional on our parts. Trust me, I didn't set out to make this on a timing. On our part, I can assure you, it's purely bad timing on my part. So, but I think like we're all mature enough we can realize that. So, all right. So with that out of the way, let's start. 3, 2, 1, click. So, welcome everybody to one of my personal favorite games of all time, the original Metal Gear Solid for the Sony PlayStation.
I'm actually gonna say it. This is one of my favorite Metal Gear Solid games ever. Yes, even with the
you and everybody else's, Jova.
Even with the improvements of later sequels, I feel like Metal Gear Solid 1 is quite possibly still the most iconic of the entire series.
It's because
aside from Metal Gear Rising, but that's a spin-off technically.
It's the most influential because this game's basically kind of created the narrative-driven game. You know, don't get me wrong, there were games with focus on story before, obviously, Final Fantasy VII, stuff like that, but this was the first game to genuinely have a cinematic presentation to its story.
And I'll admit, I do have...
FMVs, actually. If I recall correctly, there are no real major ones.
All of the cutscenes in this game are purely using in-game assets. Kojima was determined to take full advantage of the PS1 and take it and use to its limit.
Yeah, and you know, I do have some issues with Metal Gear Solids 2 and 3, and 5.
I'm surprised to say that, Joe, because 3 is the fan favorite.
I mean, okay, maybe to reiterate, it's not so much that I have an issue with 3. It's just that there's I don't know. There's just something I like. I feel like Metal Gear Solid 1 just has something a bit more straightforward about it that makes me prefer it over 3.
Also, to reflect again the cinematic experience, each character was presented as a subtitles, the voice actor or actress accompanying that.
Yes, so unlike the previous games, this one is fully voice acted with David Hayter playing Solid Snake.
And yes, the opening even has credits like what you would see in a movie too, with them crediting the voice.
You can also tell the influence again. Kojima loves movies, and this is a clear visual sequence. He's a bit for Red October.
A quick reminder that Kojima originally studied at film school and was looking into becoming a filmmaker, but then he played Super Mario Brothers, and that game, according to him, was the game of his destiny. It changed everything for him, and he decided to instead, even though his family didn't approve of it, to become a game designer instead. Fun fact, years later, when he showed up on the cover of Time magazine, yes, that was a thing, his family was all like, huh, I guess he really is doing what he should be doing. So, there you go.
And Revolver Ocelot, specialist
and last.
interrogation, and a formidable gunfighter.
Well, with a name like Revolver Ocelot, I figured he would be a good gunfighter.
Liquid Snake. Liquid Snake. The man with the same.
And yes, Shira, just like in the previous games, we have names that look like they belong to pro wrestlers. So,
Target.
At least there's no jungle evil in this version.
Well, this is a
Essentially, we're dealing with FOX-HOUND. What are FOX-HOUND? Well, they're essentially kind of people who used to be part of the unit that we were.
Yeah.
But of course, when things went turncoat with Big Boss, they left as well.
we're going to, in a moment, refresh ourselves on that. But for now, let's see. All right, and that was the opening movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. This all happens before you even get to the opening menu.
All right, so tactical espionage action is born with Metal Gear Solid. So there you go. Of all the Metal Gear games, this is the breakout title. This is the game that when it came out back in 1988, it changed gaming forever. All of the cinematic storytelling you see in games moving forward, yeah, it's all because of the influence of this game. This game completely shook the industry to its core. Thanks to, first of all, the best voice acting gaming had seen up until this point. Trust me. Like when you hear the voice acting in this game was on a whole nother level to games of this time.
Yeah.
And all right, so. But before we start, let's check out previous operations, aka text recaps of Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake.
So the West did not have much of an occasion.
So let's refresh ourselves on what happened in the previous two games, since it's been a few years since we did those.
By the way, I'll admit, when I was a kid, I used to mistake David Hayter for Steve Blum.
Yeah, the year 1995, deep in South Africa, 200 kilometers north of Garsberg, Outer Heaven, an armed fortress nation established by the legendary mercenary. He was feared in combat by both his friends and foes as a hero and a lunatic. The Western nations have found out that a weapon of mass destruction capable of rewriting war history. So yeah, there was this fortress called Outer Heaven, and they had a weapon of mass destruction called Metal Gear. Okay. In order to develop Outer Heaven, they have called upon the high-tech Special Force Unit FOX-HOUND, like Jova just said, to take care of the situation. In response to this order, Big Boss, Commander-in-Chief of FOX-HOUND, sent Grey Fox, the man with the code name Fox, which is given to the best member of the unit, Operation Intrude N313. There you go, that was the name of the operation. After a few days, his last message being Metal Gear. So he disappeared with his last matches saying Metal Gear. Taking the situation seriously, the top men of the West called again for FOX-HOUND. Big Boss selected Solid Snake, who had just been recently joined FOX-HOUND as the agent and entrusted everything to him. So
I think it's had, not
it's
supposed to be in the past.
they don't understand English, libs. Successfully making a solo infiltration to Outer Heaven, Snake got in touch with our local resistance members Schneider, Diane, and Jennifer. With their cooperation, Snake succeeded in rescuing Grey Fox. Grey Fox then laid out the terrifying facts about Metal Gear. Metal Gear was the name of a nuclear warhead-equipped two-legged walking tank. Of course, it can walk through even the roughest terrains that wouldn't stop normal tanks. It can conduct local warfare by itself with unique weapons like its Vulcan cannon and anti-tank missiles. It was indeed a new type of weapon that can conduct a nuclear attack against any place on the face of the earth on any land. So yeah, all it
took was a computer hacking to shut it down.
With Metal Gear, Outer Heaven was trying to establish its military superiority over the entire world. In order to destroy Metal Gear, Snake rescued Metal Gear's chief engineer, Dr. Petrovich, and his daughter Ellen, who was taken hostage to force her father to continue with its development. I think it's its development, translators. Yeah,
To be fair, his development. Okay, the term "his development" does work because he was the one developing
I guess.
it.
Yeah.
So.
Snake hears from Dr. Petrovich how to destroy Metal Gear. However, as Snake approached the Outer Heaven in Metal Gear, well-designed traps that are set all around Snake, as all of his actions are being leaked to the enemy. In the midst of escalating battle, the leader of the resistance, Schneider, fell into the hands of the bad guys. Yep. The enemy. And Snake himself was injured for the deadly battles with Outer Heaven's best mercenaries. But Snake's indomitable spirit led him to the 100th-floor basement of the secret base where Metal Gear was developed. Evading the powerful defense system that wipes out all intruders. What could have happened then? Snake ultimately succeeded in destroying Metal Gear. Snake tried to escape from Outer Heaven upon completing the mission. However, during the escape, he was covered by one man, FOX-HOUND Commander-in-Chief, Big Boss. Big Boss laughed at the astounded Snake and told him of... So, turns out, Big Boss was behind it all. Dun, dun, dun. The truth about his mission. While serving as the Commander-in-Chief of FOX-HOUND, Big Boss also ran a mercenary dispatch company utilizing his connections in capital from his years as a merc. He was planning to build this company a larger military establishment, and he built Outer Heaven. Later games explain what was his ultimate motivation with that. His purpose for sending the rookie Snake to Outer Heaven was to cause information confusion against the West. However, Big Boss miscalculated. He never thought that Snake would make it this far. Having lost Metal Gear, Boss activated the self-destruction system of the underground base. It's okay. If you smoke a cigarette in that part, it slows down the timer for reasons that make no sense whatsoever. While the countdown to destruction continued, his scream echoed in the emptiness. You have gone... sorry, go ahead, Jules.
Gone too far. Too far.
Wait, while the countdown to destruction continued, his scream echoed in the emptiness. No, I think that's Big Boss, actually. You have gone too far, too far. Sorry, oops. The armed fortress nation Outer Heaven collapsed. The impenetrable fortress was made from the best military technology and occupied by the toughest mercenaries burned in flames. Behind him, the flames reached skyward, as Outer Heaven fell, leaving Solid Snake all alone.
All around me are
purposes.
familiar faces.
For all intents and purposes, Big Boss died at that point.
Yeah, also.
Although what the recap doesn't tell you, there was a little post-credit scene about that. In 1999, so this is Metal Gear 2. 1999, the world was facing an energy crisis. It was obvious that the supply of petroleum would run out faster than expected. However, the development of an alternate energy resource is far from completion. The price of petroleum has skyrocketed and the world economy is in confusion. The 21st century was expected to be one of chaos.
Therefore,
Imagine
Solid
that.
Solid Snake's relative Chid.
One man's invention changed the entire situation. A Czech genius and biologist, Dr. Kiomarv, invented Oilix, a microorganism that refines petroleum to produce a highly purified form of petroleum. Of course! Don't you know anything about science? The world was filled with hope upon the discovery of this messiah to solve the energy crisis. But at the same time, the world entered a time of tension, because of course it did. The world is always in tension. Regarding this new algae, just when the whole world's attention was drawn to Oilix and Dr. Marv, he was abducted by someone and disappeared. Nations began investigations immediately, and a name soon appeared. Zanzibar Land. Yes.
Sounds like a Capcom country.
Zanzibar Land was a democratic military regime that suddenly appeared in Central Asia in 1997. When their uprising took place, the CIS army, formed around Russia, sent a suppressive unit immediately. Zanzibar Land resisted by gathering abandoned mercenaries from nations around the world and fortifying most of its land. Yeah, don't expect that to stop. As a result, the CIS army was repeatedly defeated, and Zanzibar Land has declared its independence. Due to the active role mercenaries played, this war was called the Mercenary War, and Zanzibar Land was referred to as an armed fortress nation. A military nation with a group of strong mercenaries, surrounded by a tough fortress. What other place do we know that used to be like that?
One that was led by the clear person enormous executive.
According to the latest information, Zanzibar supposedly was armed with nuclear weapons. The whole scenario was crystal clear. By obtaining Oilix in addition to nuclear weapons, Zanzibar Land was trying to establish its economic and military superiority over the entire world. Concerned about the situation, well, I guess it's time for America to come in and solve the whole thing.
Concerned about the situation, the United States invaded. Of course they do.
Ordered Roy Campbell, Commander-in-Chief of the High-Tech Special Forces Unit FOX-HOUND, to rescue Dr. Marv. Campbell was a former member of FOX-HOUND. He brought back Solid Snake, the man who single-handedly brought down the armed fortress nation of Outer Heaven 4 years ago in Metal Gear 1, and asked Snake to bring back both Dr. Marv and Oilix, I guess, if I remember correctly.
And my sanity.
Sure.
Good luck with that, Snake.
Successfully infiltrating Zanzibar Land, and with the help of CIA agent Holly, not Hori, that's a mistranslation, Holly and others, Snake was able to go deep into the fortress and meet again with Dr. Petrovich, the chief engineer of Metal Gear at Outer Heaven. He too was abducted to Zanzibar Land and was forced to develop another Metal Gear.
Okay,
Great.
Given what happens in this game, I kind of find it weird that they didn't bring back Holly as that particular character.
I get the feeling, Jova, he was...
A lot of characters from Metal Gear 1 and 2 do not
return. It told us surprise Snake of an even more shocking fact. Big Boss, well, Roy Campbell does. Big Boss, the man Snake had defeated out of Heaven, turned out to be the general commander of Zanzibar Land. Snake rescued Dr. Petrovich in cooperation with Natasha, Dr. Marv's garden from a Czech. I get the feeling, Jova, it's a Bond thing, where he has a new Bond girl every game. International police agent. And then headed for the confinement facility into the fortress to save Dr. Marv. When Petrovich and Natasha crossed the narrow suspension bridge over the deep valley, a missile blew the bridge away. Natasha flew into the air because of the explosion. One of the primary inspirations for this series was actually James Bond, especially Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 3's opening song is basically Kojima's big love letter to James Bond openings. But anyway,
It's weird though because the leading lady of this game actually does come back from Metal Gear Solid 4.
true, but for different purposes. While unable to do anything to save Natasha, Snake started hearing a well-known voice. I forgot who this. Natasha, I think. Hey, Snake, we are good buddies. I can let you go. Just leave.
That's great.
Oh no, that's Grey Fox. Sorry, I wasn't.
That was me who voiced
Sorry.
Grey Fox.
So-
Leaving Natasha in front of his eyes.
Sorry, Jova.
Oh wow.
But losing Natasha in front of his eyes. The point is, Natasha got killed by the enemies. That's the basic.
Fox, I will not give up.
Yeah, basically. After a series of deadly battles with mercenaries, Snake finally made it to Dr. Marv's confinement facility. However, he arrived too late. He saw Dr. Marv's corpse and Petrovich, who could do nothing but just stand there. Petrovich told Snake that Dr. Marv could not withstand the repeated tortures because of heart problems. Snake then received an emergency call from Holly. The information she supplied was very interesting, let's just say for now.
You
They
could
spelled my
say
name wrong, the
suspicious.
bastards.
Yeah,
I'm not Hori. I'm Holly.
that's shocking. Petrovich had been voluntarily visiting Zanzibar land to develop Metal Gear. Dun dun dun. The abduction of Dr. Marv was conducted under the directions of Petrovich himself. After the truth came out, Petrovich attacked Snake, but Snake easily put an end to him and obtained the structural plan of Oilix.
Easily. You
Sad
have to
way
fire, you have
of
to fire
ha-
seeking missiles on his back.
Okay. I'll just say this. What the hell was Petrovich injecting himself with to have withstood several rocket launches to the back while choking you?
Yeah, the tremendous battle took place in the underground base. Snake finally succeeded in destroying Metal Gear. However, Grey Fox did not submit and challenged Snake to the final battle. In the midst of a minefield, Snake and Fox fought. So there you go. Grey Fox, if you may remember, he joined Big Boss for a reason that we'll discover in a moment. A fist-to-the-fist duel involving no hatred or murder intent. During their weird moment of purity, the two were bound by forces transcending words and emotion. Snake won the tough but pure battle against Grey Fox. However, there was still someone else Snake had to fight. Big Boss. Again, just like 4 years ago, because remember there was an after-credits scene in the first game thinking that he survived. One who has experienced the tension of battle can never leave the battlefield, Snake. I am the one giving you something to live for, and that is war. Snake was infuriated by the arrogant Big Boss. Go ahead, Joe. This.
There is only one battle I have to fight. To free... fuck, I forgot.
Wait for the crawl. Go ahead.
Myself from you. To shatter the nightmare. Big Boss, I will kill you.
With the structural plan of Oilix, Snake and Holly escaped from Zanzibar on a rescue helicopter. Snake once again saved the world. However, there was no smile on his face. Big Boss's...
Typos.
No.
That's how he spelled Hori.
Death.
Huge honcho.
Big Boss's last words kept ringing in Snake's head. Whoever wins, our battle does not end. The loser is free from the battlefield, but the winner must remain there, and the survivor must live his life as a warrior until he dies. Remember, Big Boss was perpetuating war to give soldiers purpose in the previous game. So
I honestly wonder. So, Pedro, do we want to bring up the retcon that Metal Gear Solid 5 makes all this, or do you want to wait till we get to that?
in good time, Jove. It's a bit. Let's not get bogged down let's not bog. We'll have that. We'll have plenty of time when we actually do get to that
And
game.
we just got shot.
All right, so now let's actually take a look at the Bond-style briefing, because, Snake got brought in, again, by Roy Campbell with another mission.
And yes, Roy Campbell. You may recognize his voice, ladies and gentlemen,
Holy
because
Diga.
he actually plays Grandpa Max from Ben 10.
What do you want from me? I just invited you here so we could have a talk. Invited? That's what you call
Also, Snake in this work looks a bit like Dracula from Symphony of the Night.
I know,
I
right?
was writing the X-Men movie and he dragged me here.
By the way,
Sorry, Snake, but we needed your assistance with something that only you can
that being
solve.
said, Snake...
We need you to speed write the next Mission Impossible film.
So yeah, but
Well, the first one, actually.
Snake brings up a good point. Like, you're not my commander anymore. I retired. But however, Roy Campbell is convinced that he will take these orders. Anyway, Naomi Hunter. Hold on.
Oh boy, Naomi.
Hold on, we'll get to it.
Military? No, civilian. I've been sent here from ATGC. Pleasure to meet you, Snake. Don't worry, this injection won't hurt a bit.
What's the shot for?
Totally,
What's
British
wrong?
lady. We can
Don't
trust
have
you.
shots.
That's not answering the question.
It all went down.
All right, let's listen.
Heavily armed soldiers occupied Shadow Moses Island, a remote island off the coast of Alaska. What soldiers? Next Generation Special Forces, led by members of Unit FOX-HOUND. They've presented Washington with a single demand, and they say that if it isn't met, they'll launch a nuclear weapon.
A nuclear weapon?
I'm afraid so. You see, the island is the site of a secret nuclear weapons disposal facility.
FOX-HOUND hijacking a nuclear weapon?
Now you understand how serious the situation is. You'll have 2 mission objectives. First, you're to rescue the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, and the president of Arms Tech, Kenneth Baker. They're both being held as hostages.
Those are some heavy-duty hostages.
Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability to launch a nuclear strike, and stop them if they do. Any questions, Snake?
Questions? I haven't even said whether I'd accept this mission.
Well, you can make up your mind after you hear more about the situation.
Your mission should you choose to accept it.
Alright, so the briefing is actually divided into various video files, so you can take a break if you want. You don't have to listen to the entire thing all together. However, let's just go all out and marathon this because, you know, might as well.
Yeah. Here for the long
Tell me
haul,
about the
after all.
nuclear weapon disposal facility.
The disposal facility includes a hardened underground base.
Snake, why are you naked? You're not naked, Snake.
Am now.
What's happening inside?
Oh my god, you really are. Your
Intelligence and report back.
insert spoiler term here is
I know that sounds like a spy movie. Well, it kind of is, Snake.
Imagine that, Snake. It's not like you dress up in a tux, so wait.
Yes, within a few miles.
Actually, Pedro, will you be showing off a tuxedo costume?
I actually do not, but we can just show a picture in post.
And then
We'll launch a one-man SDV.
launch.
Same as a torpedo. Only this has no propulsion device of its own.
Yeah, expect Snake to actually repeat a lot of terms to actually confirm that in a question format.
You want me to swim in sub-zero Alaskan water?
Don't worry.
Hey, come on, I hear that this Ellie girl did it just fine.
Technology. The nuclear weapons disposal
That was in even colder water.
I think you mean Ryan from Beyond Two Souls, maybe?
target.
Ellie was also in that water too, completely exposed, but yeah, Ryan as well. And he was wearing even less.
The character's name was Jody, but yeah, sure.
Don't expect
Jody,
support.
right.
And that was the end of that video.
So yeah, that's the infotainment. We'll use a special suit that protects Snake from various hazards, like temperature. What's the time
This
limit?
will be his most famous stealth suit, which you may recall him wearing in Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Do they say what the target will be?
So far, they haven't mentioned the target.
Honestly, I actually kind of do dig the look they gave Snake in the Smash games. He's basically Solid Snake, but with the mustache.
Basically, yeah.
It's more also the beard from the beginning of MGS2.
Anyway, the point is we have 24 hours because that's the time that the terrorists gave to Washington to give in to their demands. So,
Let's see
who exactly is in charge of this operation?
He's naked and smoking now. You just know this is gonna be on a cover magazine.
Remember, Snake is a heavy smoker.
Who's in supervisory control of this operation?
And somehow that has not damaged his lungs beyond
The
belief.
president must be meeting with his top aides in the map room about now, huh?
Remember, it just helps you time travel / teleport /
Depends on the game, Shiroi.
Whatever.
Depends on the game, Shiroi. Each game has its own ability for the cigarettes item.
Seriously, though,
Where are
what's-
you getting them?
Aware of the situation.
good question.
I love how they have just this one section to justify how the DEFCON on normal
A cog.
standard operation for America works.
Also, wait.
I suppose there isn't that
But
much reason
Solid
to worry.
Snake's voice actor is Canadian, so he can't help you. Sorry.
So is the DIA.
Okay.
DIA, Defense Intelligence
Okay.
Agency.
Okay, kudos to That was like one of the few good jokes from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
We need a nuclear
Because
Um,
Canadian.
Of
I'm
course.
Canadian.
A nuclear weapons specialist has already been assigned to it.
That being said, was I the only one as a kid who would mistake David Hayter for Steve Blum? Cause
No, I can understand. I can understand that
Yeah.
mistake because the voice David gives is very similar to some of the stuff that Steve Blum does. Anyway, support crew.
We need backup from a specialist. I'm I'm just an amateur when it comes to nuclear weapons.
I know. That's why I've requested the assistance of a military analyst named Nastasha Roman.
She's one of my favorite characters, actually.
Providing you backup by Kodak.
A female analyst?
She's built up.
You got a problem with that?
No, he doesn't. It's just that the Snake is a bit of an old timer. So don't worry. The game itself will even acknowledge it and even mark him a bit at points.
Future is now, Snake.
Yep.
Get with it or it'll leave you behind.
Seems like $1 million.
No, Los Angeles in,
California.
Los Angeles in Scotland. What other Los Angeles do you know?
It is interesting, though. Like, if you don't want to bother with this stuff, it is optional, so...
It's mostly...
It's nice to have.
Like I said, it's a James Bond style breathing. Like, we're being explained everything about the mission.
Because there aren't many people who know FOX-HOUND as well as I do.
Is that really the only reason?
I've been soldiering for a long time.
No, we also wanted to reference the Rambo movies.
Though I'm getting old, I still love to be in the field.
Also, of course, typical soldier brought out of retirement for one last job.
Of course.
Okay, Snake. Sorry. I'll be frank. A person very dear to me is being...
Ah, so that's what this is.
Merrill.
Meryl. Get used to hearing that name in the franchise.
All right. So we have to save Meryl, and let's ask more about her. So could you tell me
Oh
more?
my god, Meryl Streep has been kidnapped.
Several soldiers were reported missing the day of the revolt. And my niece was one of those called in as an emergency replacement.
Yeah, I asked for metal gear. They brought in barrel
There's a
gear.
picture.
My little brother's girl. He died in the Gulf War. Since then, I've been watching after her.
Personal
Like a
motive,
father.
That's not very soldierly.
I'm retired. I'm just
Yeah.
an old man now. And I'm your friend.
Since when are we friends?
I've
Oh,
got
come
over
on,
friends with the
Snake. It's pretty much common
Psychotherapy
knowledge
can
that
often be
you are
attracted to those of
friends.
the opposite
Oh, this
sex.
one.
Too many friends.
That's
I'm a
what
loner,
I told
don't you see?
It's what makes you
Um,
human.
Yeah.
Please.
Snake, you will later go on to make friends with Mario, have a rivalry with Sonic, and hit on Samus.
Name them.
Only my
No more
ours.
secrets between us. I want complete disclosure at all times. And
And
two,
then there's
That's
that
fair,
weird
okay.
friendship you'll have with Lucario.
That's fair. No cutoffs involved and no secrets. That's fair.
That's why
Yeah.
I was called.
I don't want to take orders from your secretary.
I'm not a colonel anymore. Just a retired old warhorse.
I understand,
Ah,
Colonel.
I mean, I love that detail. To Snake, he will always be Colonel Campbell. So basically, Shiroi, Snake is a bit tsundere for the Colonel, basically.
She was
Pretty
in
sure.
charge of FOX-HOUND's gene therapy. She knows more about those men than anyone else.
You mean you've seen them naked?
Make no mistake, I'm not a nurse. I'm a scientist.
By the way,
again.
what was
I
that
don't know
injection?
why. Wow.
Hold on, this is important.
Machines and an anti-freezing peptide so that your blood and other bodily fluids don't freeze.
Nanomachines.
Nanomachine, son.
Temperature.
This,
Not just one kind either. There
if
are
you're wondering,
different
yes,
types.
this is where the nanomachines craze began
Yes.
with this franchise.
Now I don't have to worry about food.
I also put some nootropics in.
That's one.
Say what?
Nootropics. A class of drugs which will help improve your mental functioning.
It'll make me smarter, huh? Anything else?
Yes, Benzedrine. It's a type of stimulant. It'll keep you alert and responsive for 12 straight hours.
Basically, these nanomachines are good excuses for why Snake can do a lot of what he does in this game. And keep in mind, technically this game takes course over the bout of less than a day.
Yeah, basically.
And given the crazy stuff that happens, he is going to need it.
Basically. All right, so with that, let's actually... Well, all right, so that's about Dr. Naomi. Now, let's ask for some more detailed information about specific aspects of the mission. So who are these hostages we're supposed to save exactly?
The chief of DARPA and the president of an arms manufacturing company. What business did they have at a nuclear weapons disposal facility?
The truth is that secret exercises were being conducted at the time the terrorist group attacked.
Must be extremely important exercise.
Buckling
for those
kidding.
directly involved. Were they testing some kind of new advanced weapon?
I'm not privy to that information.
Do we know exactly where they're being held?
The DARPA chief has also been injected with a mini transmitter. As you get closer, you should be able to pick up his location on your radar.
Alright, that should be helpful. Alright, so those are the 2 hostages we're supposed to rescue. Alright, so let's ask about the nuclear weapons that they have specifically. Aside from Metal Gear, obviously.
Do they really have the ability to launch a nuclear missile?
They say they do. They even gave us the serial number of the warhead they plan to use.
Was the number confirmed?
I'm afraid so. At the very least, they've got their hands on a real nuclear warhead.
Isn't there some kind of safety device to prevent this type of terrorism?
Yes. Every missile and warhead in our arsenal is equipped with a PAL, which uses a discrete detonation code.
PAL.
Permissive Action Link.
Yeah, get used to this because there's a lot of military terminology in Metal Gear. Fortunately, the game does a good job in explaining what it is for us layman's.
Why not?
Because the DARPA chief knows the detonation code.
Well,
But even
crud.
if they have a nuclear warhead, it must have been removed from its missile. All the missiles on these disposal sites are supposed to be dismantled. It's not that easy to get your hands on an ICBM.
That used to be true. But since the end of the Cold War, you can get anything if you have enough money and the right connection.
Yeah. Basically.
Unfortunately. So yeah,
And
this is
enough
quite
people who don't give a
pickle.
fuck.
That as well.
Exactly. So what about the terrorists' armament?
How well armed are these terrorists? I know there was an exercise going on at the time they revolted.
They're heavily armed, I'm afraid.
What about their battle experience?
The 6 members of FOX-HOUND in charge are all hardened veterans. They're tough enough to eat nails and ask for seconds.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Fox.
Without any
The
milk,
others are
too.
next-generation special forces. They're not your average grunts either.
Oh.
Okay then. Let's elaborate.
What's
on.
next?
So the terrorists demand, like, let's exactly. So what exactly? Yeah, we know they have a demand, but what is that demand, Mr. Campbell? Could you tell us?
So what exactly are they demanding?
A person's
Money?
remains.
Person's remains.
That's right.
Oh
To
boy.
be more accurate, cell specimens which contain the individual's genome.
Oh yeah, this is important.
Why would they want that?
The terrorists need them. You see, these next-generation special forces have been strengthened through gene therapy.
Strengthened?
You've heard of the Human Genome Project. They've been mapping the human genome, and they're nearly finished. Following up on this research, the military has been working towards identifying those genes which are responsible for making effective soldiers.
There are genes that do that?
Yes. And
Dude,
using
with
gene
nanomachines,
therapy,
anything is possible
Yeah.
now.
These are
to
anything.
regular soldiers.
Gene therapy?
I'll explain this part. With gene therapy, we can remove those genes which we know may lead to sickness or disease, and at the same time splice in genes with beneficial effects, such as resistance to cancer, for example.
In other words, we can overcome all sorts of genetic diseases, and at the same time add genetic characteristics as desired.
That is absolutely no
And so
way
if you
of
knew what
potential of
genes were
abuse at
responsible
all.
for making the perfect soldier, you could implant them in the same way, right?
Yes, we could.
But it all depends on being able to isolate and identify those soldier genes.
And in order to do that, it's helpful if you can study the genomic information of one of the greatest soldiers.
And that would be... So yeah, genetic strengthening. Could you elaborate a bit on that while you're at it, honey?
One of the greatest soldiers ever?
The man they call the greatest warrior of the 20th century.
You don't mean Big Boss.
Exactly. They want Big Boss's corpse.
To identify the genes responsible for his incredible combat skill. So far, we've discovered about 6
Hey, Pedro, remember back in the day when it was just the genes that were responsible for his incredible combat skill? Oh, you know, for as complex as this may seem, this is when the franchise was more innocent in regards to stuff.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So yeah, with just a single string over here, you can actually get these genes and make great soldiers.
We'll use a process that I discovered called gene targeting. The strongest soldiers don't become what they are by acquiring their skills through training or experience. We now know that hereditary factors are far more crucial for creating superior soldiers.
Snake.
Imagine that, Snake?
Body. It's potentially more dangerous than all the nuclear warheads on that island put together.
I hear the terrorists are calling themselves the Sons of Big Boss.
The sons.
I'm gonna say sons of bitches. I mean, that's an accurate name too, is it?
Not entirely. It's complicated. Next generation. All right. So next generation special force unit. We're almost done.
Oh, this is good stuff.
Special forces.
They started out as an anti-terrorist special ops unit, made up of former members of biochem units, technical escort units, and the nuclear emergency surge team. Their purpose was to respond to threats involving next-generation weapons of mass destruction, including NBC weapons.
Until they were added, that is.
Wait, the TV channel are making weapons?
These guys didn't start...
Not that NPC, Snake. Another NPC.
International group.
Well, who knows? Maybe the British were in on this.
Are they really that offended that people didn't like their Olympic game coverage?
Yes.
Possibly.
The terrorists are done with that shit, and they want America to take that down.
Outer heaven.
After that, they were merged with our own VR unit, Force 21, and retrained. If you ask me, these so-called next-generation special forces should be called simulated soldiers. They
Yeah.
have no real battle
Yeah, back in my day, video game players.
Believe it or not, that bit is actually going to become important in the game after this.
Yeah, not just that. I love what Campbell basically just said. No, don't. Back in my day, soldiers actually trained in the field, not any of this genes bullshit.
Declarations, not actual treaties.
Yeah, as you can see,
Brings you out of your legs.
as you can see, Snake and Campbell are old dogs, as you usually say. They're very old. They're very old-fashioned in their mentalities. Okay, so the reason for unanimous approval.
How could an entire unit be subverted to rebellion?
They're calling it a revolution.
Since they all went through the same gene therapy, they probably felt closer than brothers. They see the unit as their only family.
The sons of Big Boss. But if they
That
were
doesn't
regular
sound at
army,
all
they must
like
have been
the
interviewed periodically
Brotherhood
by
of
armed
Mutants
council.
when you get down to
According their
it.
files, they all got straight A's on their psychological
It's only because
tests.
David Hayter was also involved in the writing for X, supposed to have mentioned.
But they all took part in the uprising?
No, several people didn't show up on the day of the exercise. That's why there was a resupply of troops.
Was there any sign recently that something might be wrong?
There was a report a month ago that they were acting strangely.
Apparently they consulted classified information about the soldier genes and performed their own gene therapy experiments.
They can do that even without you?
Well, our gene therapy process is almost completely automated. And besides that, they're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
Even the existence of this genome army is a national secret of the highest order. We've been hoping to investigate this thing quietly and deal with it behind closed doors.
Okay then.
Yeah.
All right. So, final bit before we close out. Let's talk about the unit FOX-HOUND itself, because like Jova just said, it kind of changed in between games.
High-tech Special Forces Unit FOX-HOUND. Your former unit, and one that I was a commander of. An elite group combining firepower and expertise. They're every bit as good as when I was commanding them.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of FOX-HOUND involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mantis, with his powerful psychic abilities. Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise. Vulcan Raven, giant and shaman. And Revolver Ocelot, specialist in interrogation.
I like how he's able to say all of this incredibly seriously.
Oh, Shiroi, welcome to Metal Gear.
And finally,
Remember, Shiroi, what was the name of that bad guy we saw in the last game?
Snake.
Liquid Snake.
Jungle Evil.
Jungle Evil. So,
The only person
Sure, why not?
She's also mentioned about the voice acting though, and I still it's one strength of this series. Every voice actor manages to actually say all they need, even as
Hold on.
stupid as it may sound.
There's one thing. There's one thing though. Liquid Snake. Who the hell is Liquid Snake?
Liquid Snake. The man with the same code name
Another
as you.
snake.
Tell me what you know.
He fought in the Gulf War as a teenager, the youngest person in the SAS. His job was to track down and
course
destroy
he's
mobile
British.
Scud missile launching platforms.
He's voiced by Cam Clark,
Too, I believe.
the same guy who voiced Krellian.
Interact with a platoon of Green Berets.
I was just a kid myself back then.
The details are classified, but it seems that originally he penetrated...
Also, Solid and Liquid Snake, cat confirmed.
Yes.
Spy for the British Secret Intelligence
Oh.
Service.
But he never once showed his face in Century House. He was taken prisoner in Iraq, and after that there was no trace of him for several years. After you retired, he was rescued and became a member of FOX-HOUND.
I thought that by the time I left, they were no longer using code names.
I don't know his real name. That information is so highly classified that even I can't look at it. Here's a photo of him. Pretty shocking, huh? His skin tone
He
is
looks
different, but
pretty.
otherwise you two are exact duplicates.
Twin?
So yeah, apparently Snake is a twin.
But it seems so. That's why we really need you for this mission.
You're the only one who can beat him. Now that I've
Remember, we already established about the gene therapy. He obviously has the same genes, so obviously he's the only one who can properly have a standard chance against him.
Why don't I find that thought more comforting?
Well, Snake, unfortunately, that's reality.
And given that it's coming from Naomi of all people, you'll probably have some
Did you
good
get all
intuition
that?
there.
Good.
Alright, so now when we exit, we get the final bit of the briefing file. We're done, so let's exit and get the final briefing video.
I need to borrow your scissors.
What are you going to do?
Don't worry, just gonna clean myself up a little.
Give himself a haircut.
Snippity snap.
So yeah, since Liquid Snake has long hair, might as well cut our hair so that we make sure we're not mistaken by him. That would be a problem.
Although that might have come in handy if he wanted to disguise himself or something.
Indeed. Okay, before we finish the part, I would like to also specifically mention something. Okay, and trust me, you've only just heard a taste of this, Shiroi. But try to picture me, a 12-year-old boy in 1998 playing this game for the first time. And what does this game immediately open with? Nuclear weapons, talking about the consequences of the Cold War. And trust me, the game is only going to get more elaborate on war, real-life themes, and politics over the course of the game. So you can probably guess why this game changed my life and completely, opened my eyes to, what could be done in video game narratives. Again, when you look at it today, yeah, this kind of stuff has been done plenty of times in other games. But remember, this was 1998. Yes, we've had games like Final Fantasy VII and other games that had storytelling and stuff like that, and great stories. But this was the first mainstream video game to really include real-life war politic themes that are sadly have become even more relevant in ever since this game came out. So yeah.
Although the European release of this game was in 1999.
Well, yeah. Was it? I don't even remember how the exact.
It says on Wikipedia, February 22nd, 1999.
I don't even remember that. The point is, back in the day, I played this game when I was like 12 or something. So try to picture me just playing this. Because what happened was a friend of mine who loved this game recommended it to me, so he let me borrow it, and for the weekend, and I ended up borrowing the game for the rest of the week. basically.
I was gonna say you never gave it back.
I remember, sure, that was me instead with Final Fantasy VII. But the effect was kind of the same, basically.
No, and trust me, it only gets more interesting from here because I absolutely adore the topics that this game deals with. The great thing about Metal Gear Shiroi is that, and what makes it so beloved to this day, is the fact that it takes all these complicated, mature themes and makes them easy to digest in a fun video game, basically. So that's pretty cool, if you ask me. All right, everybody, tune in next time where we start the game proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.